Hi again, this is Linda from Let's Talk Prepping. And I want to say right off the bat, I'm not here to scare you, but to try to push you into storing food and water and getting any supplies you might need before a crisis hits. Although some would say we're already in a crisis situation right this minute. Let's look at it a little bit. You have homeowners or rental insurance. You have medical insurance. You have car insurance. You might have a service contract for your oil burner with your oil company. Most likely you've never used these things, but it gives you peace of mind. So I'm pushing you to get a preparedness insurance policy for yourself. So we're going to look at some of the headlines and see why you need to be prepared in today's world. I came over here to Bloomberg and I put in food shortages in the search engine, and here's what came up. And this is October 28th, 2021. Aldi's warns of holiday grocery delays in U.S., citing bottlenecks. And then as we go down here, notice that most of these don't have anything to do with food shortages. The Taliban slash import duties on food as more Afghans go hungry. They're grappling with soaring prices, and a crash crunch makes it more difficult for Afghans to feed their families. Just when a bitter winter looms, European corn risks being left in the field as gas crunch bites. Food security alarm bells ring louder. This really kind of bothers me. They're saying people are hoarding. That's why we have a food shortage. That's not true. They might be hoarding, but that's not why there's a shortage. McDonald's, Coca-Cola jump as consumer price hikes take hold. Prices on virtually all types of food and consumer goods are going up, but many Americans don't seem to mind. Supply chain crunch could mar the holidays. So those are just some of the things from Bloomberg here on the supply chain and food shortages. But if we go over here, this is CNBC, and they say supply chain chaos is already hitting global growth and it's about to get worse. They're talking about power shortages in China affected production in recent months, while in the UK, Bre-X has been a big factor, the shortage of truck drivers. The U.S. is also battling a shortage of truckers. Germany is experiencing a large backlog in its ports. The situation will get worse. Supply will likely play catch-up for some time, as there are bottlenecks in every link of the supply chain. Supply chain crisis, hoarding products spark food shortages across the U.S. Parts of the U.S. are now battling food shortages as worried Americans have emptied supermarket shelves amid the supply chain crisis. People are stockpiling everything from canned goods to box items, even making a run on milk when it's available. Two of America's major container ports in California face a backlog. People are hoarding. I'm not exactly sure that's true, and if you're talking about stockpiling, I wouldn't call that hoarding. I would say it's protecting yourself and your family for the next year or two. What I think you'll see over the next 6 months is all prices going higher. Here's a picture, and they're showing people stockpiling, buying everything. Albertson's CEO said that customers should expect they're going to have something missing in our stores on any given day. I'd never imagined that we'd be here in October 2021 talking about supply chain problems. Dill Pickle Food Co-op is short on certain dry goods. Land O'Lakes told Bloomberg it's producing plenty of milk, but that the massive backlog of ships waiting to enter California's two largest ports has led to problems getting milk to people. That's interesting, because I guess I thought Land O'Lakes was a U.S. company and they wouldn't be using the port. they'd be using trucks. The challenge in the supply chain continue to be issues such as driver shortages, labor, and congestion at the ports. Bloomberg also reported there have been snags in production or distribution of cereals, tortillas, and juices that have kept these products off the shelves. Schools have been scrambling to get supplies for students' lunches. We've been struggling with supply chain issues with different items since school started. Other industry-specific challenges include a previously reported poultry shortage that hit grocery stores and fast food chains. The shortage has been exacerbated by surging demand, labor shortages, and supply chain challenges, and now get this, as well as a recent crop of underperforming roosters. So we're going to blame it on these poor underperforming roosters. They didn't live up to expectations. I'm going to click on that. A&W Restaurants canceled their marketing plan for chicken tenders because they couldn't get enough supply. They replaced it with something they could get. The chain is still only getting 80% of what it orders. Processors of other meats are struggling with various reasons, including a shortage of styrofoam trays. Producers all along the supply chain are hiking prices. It says prices in grocery stores are up 4.5% compared with a year ago. I really believe going to the grocery store, you'll see that it's more than 4.5%. So this was from the New York Post, and it was October 20th, and today is October 28th. I'm going to jump over here and see what the problem is with these roosters. Tyson blames underperforming roosters for U.S. chicken shortage. They're not producing as many chicks, and the roosters are to blame. The new roosters it's been using for fertilizing eggs and breeding new chicks aren't hitting expectations. We're changing out that one type of male that, quite frankly, we made a bad decision on. Breeding companies provide hens and roosters to chicken producers like Tyson, which then breed the birds and hatch their eggs to produce poultry. Tyson owns one of the major breeding companies in the U.S. He explained that the company discovered that eggs fertilized by a specific type of rooster hatch less often, limiting the company's supply, just as nationwide demand for chicken is sky high. So they're going to replace those roosters by fall. Poor guys, I imagine they're just going to kill them off. He says it's a 50-50 split between the hatch issue and the strong demand. A variety of other factors are holding back the chicken supply. He added the company switched to a new kind of rooster because it improved the quality of the meat, but it had an unexpected drop in chicks. It has moved back to the roosters it previously used. Poor roosters. They are going to get the blame. So we have the roosters. And over here, Jen Psaki says too much online shopping is partly the blame for supply chain crisis. So we're going to blame it on everything except the government, when the government really is to blame. They're the ones that have really caused all these problems. Supply chain crisis could last into 2023. So what does that mean? If they're saying 2023, you can probably bet it's going to last longer. What does that mean to you? That means to you that you better start stocking up and be one of those hoarders they're talking about, because if you don't stock up, you're going to be at the mercy of the government. And believe me, you don't want to be at the mercy of the government. So I really believe if they say 2023, it's going to last a lot longer. An American famine is coming with foreign entities buying up farms and food processing plants. That's really a big thing, because when the foreign entities buy up the farms and the food processing plants, they can just then ship it right out to their own countries and just leave us far behind. In addition to civil unrest and rising crime, we're now facing threats to our food supply in the forms of drought, fire, and foreign ownership of our farmlands and food processing facilities. Whether it's meat or vegetables, potatoes or pasta, food is a huge issue. Food tensions have been the cause of many wars throughout history. The U.S. is losing farms by the thousands yearly. And some of that is because of the drought. Some of it is also because the kids don't want to become farmers either. Their parents and grandparents were farmers, but they're not willing to do that. So drought is causing some farmers to walk away. Livestock is being effective. So you know we're going to have trouble getting meat. They've already want to get rid of meat totally. Foreign ownership of farmland is a substantial cause of economic concerns. Several of our largest food processing plants, Smithfield, JBS, are Chinese-owned. So in 2013, a Chinese firm purchased Smithfield Foods. The Chinese company owns 146,000 acres of prime U.S. farmland. I mean, that's hard to conceive, 146,000 acres. Foreign entities held an interest in nearly 35.2 million acres of U.S. agricultural land. That's 2.7% of all privately held farmland. That's a 60% increase from 2009. Foreign entities are not the only ones buying up U.S. farmland. Non-farmer domestic entrepreneurs and investors want a piece of the agricultural pie. Institutional investors, pension funds, university endowments, etc., are incorporating farmland into their portfolios. So we have problems here. So as we go down here, this is what you really need to know. Secure your food supply now. It might be a wise idea for each of us to do what we can to secure our food supply. By becoming a nation of self-reliant producers, as we once were, we might create a brighter future for ourselves and our children. Becoming a producer is easier than you think. You don't have to suddenly grow all your own vegetables and raise meat chickens on the patio of your townhouse to do it. However, growing some of your food is, and learning to build a better pantry are a good start. So that's what I would be suggesting for you, to grow your own food. So all of these things are telling us that you must wake up and start storing food and becoming self-sufficient. So here's what you can do to survive all this. You're going to have to store food. You're going to have to store water. You're going to have to look and see what's going to happen if the grid goes down. How am I going to be able to learn to live without electricity? So we're going to have to learn to live without electricity. Ultimately, you have to become self-sufficient. So it means growing your own food. It means buying from the farmer down the road. It means learning about aquaponics, learning about hydroponics. It means raising chickens if you have to, or rabbits or goats or something like that. It also means you can grow sprouts, you can grow microgreens. So there is still time to do something. I want you to just take all of this to heart. Don't say, oh, it's too much, I can't bother, I'll never catch up. You've got to say, yes, every time I go to the store, I'll buy one extra can. I'll buy 10 more pounds of rice, 2 more pounds of rice, whatever it happens to be. You've got to wake up and start doing it now. And of course, please subscribe, like the video, and leave any comment that might help us to prepare for what is coming. Remember, it's not too late. Start prepping now. And thank you, and please subscribe.